Pickup trucks are the biggest product segment in the United States by far. Ford's F-Series has been the top-selling vehicle line forever. It was again last year. Americans love pickup trucks. And so this is one segment that Tesla does not play in. And Elon Musk has been promising Tesla would come into the pickup segment for a very long time. A few years ago, the company unveiled the Cybertruck, and the expectation is this is a new type of pickup truck that'll address an enormous market. It's going to be different than any other kind of pickup we've seen before.
I would think that the truck will be core to their business. I mean, as we've seen with the domestic automakers, it is their bread and butter. And I think there could be significant profits for Tesla with a truck. On the EV startup side, Rivian clearly is a competitor because they were out there first and they've got a pickup truck and an SUV. And then Ford with the electric Lightning, and they've got a lot of production capacity that they're ramping up. And they were out there first as a real mass marketer. And then, of course, GM will have both the Chevy Silverado and the GMC Sierra that will be competition as well.
Elon said the vehicle would be priced from about $40,000. I would say objectively, that's a highly unlikely price point for this vehicle. And in fact, as it turns out, over the long history of Tesla, there actually is no Tesla product that's ever sold at the base price that Elon has promised. So most people who are watching the space assume that Cybertruck is going to kick off at a base sale price of around $70,000 to $80,000. Again, it's still sort of unclear. What we do know is it's going to be heavy. A few years ago, Tesla engineers were communicating with California's Department of Motor Vehicles, and they revealed that the likely weight of the vehicle at a minimum would be about 8,500 pounds. And to put that in perspective, that's a couple thousand pounds more than a standard Ford F-150. Cybertruck is likely to be an extremely energy-intense vehicle to produce and manufacture. And that's for a number of reasons. It's using this all sort of steel and aluminum body, so there's a lot of metal going into this vehicle. The batteries themselves are large and very resource intensive. So lots of nickel, lots of cobalt, lots of lithium coming from all over the place. If you look at estimates by something like Argonne National Laboratory, which tries to calculate the carbon intensity of vehicles, including how they're made, every EV sort of starts overweight in terms of carbon emissions relative to, say, a gasoline car. It takes more energy to build an EV because you have to gather all these materials, and the manufacturing process is a little different. Another kind of mild concern, or maybe not so mild concern, is automotive tires. Vehicle tires wear down over time and create dust. There's a chemical treatment on tires that's designed to keep them from wearing out so fast, but it turns out that particular chemical gets into waterways, rivers, and the sea, and is very toxic for certain types of salmon and maybe some other fish. Heavier vehicles produce more of this dust. So there is an argument that if you're putting an 8,500-pound electric truck on the vehicle, that actually is going to be producing more of this tire dust pollution than, say, a conventional gasoline or diesel pickup truck, which may not be as heavy.
Analysts, investors, as well as customers have been eagerly awaiting the release of the Cybertruck, production of which has been delayed on a number of occasions to date. I think at this point, analysts are expecting that the Cybertruck will be released at some point in the first half of 2024, and they see that as part of what will need to happen for Musk to achieve his very ambitious growth targets, which some view as probably unachievable, but certainly important to making some headway towards those. So I think further delays or hiccups as it relates to that release probably wouldn't be good for the stock.
There are a couple ways to look at it. There may be a group of buyers that never would have considered a pickup truck, but because it's an EV, because it's a Tesla or one of the new EV startups, they will consider it. I think the other big question is, will the core truck buyers that have driven F-150s and Silverados forever, will they shift to EVs? I'm less certain about that. And then, of course, that leads to the question of what are the volumes going to be? And that's really hard to know because we don't know exactly who will be the buyers and how many of them there will be.
It's been a bumpy ride for Tesla stock for sure, to say the least, over the last year or so. Dating back to mid-April of last year when Elon first announced his Twitter acquisition. Through the end of the year, the stock crashed by nearly 70% before rebounding recently. The distraction of the Twitter acquisition to Elon and all the stock that he had to sell to finance it played a big role in a significant decline in Tesla stock. Most of Elon's net worth is derived from his shares of Tesla and his options to buy shares in Tesla, largely driven by the Twitter acquisition. The decline in Tesla stock over the last year or so has taken Elon, who a year ago was the richest person in the world by nearly $50 billion, seen him replaced by Bernard Arnault of LVMH as the world's richest person.
The company, when it introduced itself to the world in 2006, set this really aggressive agenda that we're going to change transportation with sustainable vehicles powered primarily by solar power. So they really wanted to be associated with clean energy, clean transportation from the very beginning. But he also said something important, which was the first vehicle was going to be an expensive one, the Roadster. But each subsequent vehicle would cost less and less and less as the company scaled up and got better at making EVs. Well, we're pretty deep into things now. It's about 17 years, in fact, since the first Roadsters were built. Those cost about $100,000. The average Tesla today retails for about $65,000. I would argue that objectively, the way Tesla products are now positioned, it's harder and harder to make the argument that this is purely an environmentally oriented purchase. From the very beginning, the company knew what it had to do to get people to buy these things, to take EVs seriously. They had to be nice to look at and fun to drive, and they had to have features that were as good as or superior to those in a gasoline engine car. And they did a terrific job with that. What they didn't do was then keep working to make them more affordable and actually more environmentally friendly for more people.